I love you.
I know.
I like this Phillips Route 100. That's pretty good. Root beer, Drunkview, or fancy ways, and enjoy in moderation. Oh, dude, that apple schnapp. Oh, anyway. Yep. Oh, give me the intro, boy. Hey everybody, today we saw Solo, a Star Wars story, I think it's called. Yep. Han Solo Star Wars movie, Ranger Man Star Wars movie as they call it in China. What did you think of, or what was the plot of Solo Star Wars movie?
Han Solo is a street thief who works for the Human Centipede, and he gets a thing, energy hyper fuel, which is a new thing in this movie because they had to have the MacGuffin. And he leaves, but his girlfriend gets left behind, and he becomes a soldier, and then he joins these smugglers who try to steal more hyper fuel on a train, and they fail. And Han Solo's like, I know what we can do. We can just go get more of that stuff from Kessel. And they meet Lando, and then they go to Kessel, and then they do the Kessel run. And
His girlfriend's also really evil.
They parallax the
You don't remember
the hentai monster. The hentai monster gets sucked into a black hole, and then they go to some place and there's rebels, and they give the energy things to the rebels, and they kill Woody Harrelson, and the girl kills the bad guy and has a Skype call with Darth Maul, who whips out his lightsaber for no reason. So Connor, what'd you think of Solo?
In all honesty, Solo was better than I thought, and cocksucked Han Solo harder than I thought, and I can explain what I mean. It's better than I thought because it is not worse than Rogue One, and it is not worse than The Last Jedi, which to me is amazing. Because this movie, in my eyes, had potential to be by far the stupidest, most cringy Star Wars movie. It was decently put together. I thought the shot compositions were pretty nice. Shooting was nice. Surprisingly, it was Lando. It was fucking Childish Gambino as Lando, whose performance was far cringier than Alan Aldrich's performance as Han Solo. At first, I wasn't feeling him as Han Solo, but like 30 minutes into the movie, he started to get a little better. It still felt like he was his own character when I was watching the movie, even though I know like Chewbacca was there. I almost just was like, this is just a different character, pretty much, because that's what it felt like. He was so much different than the Han Solo we saw. The only thing that kept reminding us it was Han Solo was, as I was saying, the fact that it's very self-referential. How did he get the dice from the Disney movies? Well, we find that out. How did he get the name Han Solo? We find that out. How did he get the Millennium Falcon? We find that out. How does he do the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs? We find that out. How does he get his gun? We find that out. How did he get the sweatpants with the red on the side? We didn't figure that one out, so that's probably for the sequel.
How did he see
How did
Chewbacca
he get the
rip
vest?
the guy's arms
We
off?
didn't. How did he meet Chewbacca, however? We find that out. How did he meet Lando? We find that out.
How did he win the Millennium Falcon?
I said that.
How did he learn to shoot first?
How did he learn to shoot first? That actually happens in this movie. How did Chewbacca learn to rip the arms off of things?
How did Chewbacca learn to lose a hologram chest?
Yes. How did Chewbacca get freed from slavery after Revenge of the Sith. We find that out. We find it all out, which is like, that's the problem with this movie, is there was nothing that wasn't found out about Han Solo. Shit we already knew, granted, but now we have the worthless secret origin of these things. And it's like, I don't know, portions of this movie were kind of cool. It also kind of contradicted what we learned in the Marvel comic, I feel like, a little bit. I guess not really. There's a lot of time. I don't know. I don't really know when this takes place. Like how far before A New Hope. Timeline on it's kind of confusing.
Well, he said that he was the last part of the last scene that they're like going to do the thing for Jabba. So presumably it's not that long.
It's before Rebels for sure. Because how he got setting up the Jabba job that got him into the whole mess that would establish into A New Hope. And I guess I can address the elephant in the room. Darth Maul shows up. Darth Maul showing up. I don't know what Disney has for these weird cameos. I think this is the equivalent of Red Skull showing up. Like when Red Skull shows up in Infinity War, you think about it and it makes absolutely zero sense.
Yeah.
But at least there it's like, I guess they were kind of trying to explain what happened to him because fans had all these fan theories. So maybe Kevin Feige's like, you know, we're not going to do anything with him ever again anyways. We can't get the actor back, so we might as well just kind of cheaply throw him in here and say he did the Time Stone thing. And fans would be like, oh, that's interesting. That's a good piece of fan service. Darth Maul makes no fucking sense at all, and he's integral to the story beyond belief. First off, when in the room, like the writer's room, who's like, now, who should the secret villain be? Because for some reason this movie doesn't treat us to know who the actual antagonist of the story is, really. I mean, we know his girlfriend's kind of evil.
The guy
we kind of can infer, and Scarface guy,
evil-ish.
but at the same time, like,
Kinda,
sorta,
they work for
but
him.
it's not like he's evil. I mean, he's an evil man.
He's a
they
gangster,
work for
but
him,
he's like, they work for him.
but it's not like he's directly posing a threat to him.
No,
The
not until they attack him.
the stormtroopers in general are the antagonists, which isn't very exciting. But I guess really it was like, I don't know. There isn't an antagonist, but Darth Maul is really pulling the strings for like what the girl's doing there, and the gangsters. He's the leader of the gangsters. First off, I've seen Star Wars Rebels, and it seems like he just got ass mad after his brother died and continued to do Sith Lord shit. But apparently he took a pit stop to become a giant gangster, and then he eventually does a bunch of shit in Rebels and decides, I'm not going to reference the gang I have, I'm not going to use any of those soldiers, but now I'm about to go 1v1 with Obi-Wan in the middle of the desert.
That's because in Han Solo 3 we're going to see him get BTFO'd by Han Solo.
Oh yeah, you know Han Solo be like, sometimes I think the lightsaber is a bunch of mumbo jumbo, and then he's going to like shoot the lightsaber in half.
No. Darth Maul's going to cut his girlfriend in half and be like, you're useless to me now. Then Han Solo will be like, no! And he'll reach into his boot and be like, good thing I found this artifact.
Here's the problem. He's like the lightsaber's a bunch of mumbo jumbo, and so is the Force. So how are you gonna make a sequel where Darth Maul, a powerful Force user, is gonna be an integral plot point? Because in other words, since the sequel's not happening because this movie's kind of flopping, at least by Star Wars comparison, like obviously it's not gonna completely flop. China, that's not pretty. That's very bad. That's F minus. But that said, what I'm trying to fathom right now is how you make that work. I guess they'll try. Anyways, Lando Calrissian has a sexual relationship with a robot, and that's why everyone's calling him pansexual. Yes, the robot is
Kathleen Kennedy herself said he was pansexual.
Yeah, I know. She's like, I'll use the buzzword, and then I'll be able to say, well, he's pansexual because he wants to fuck the robot. He doesn't mind that it's a different race. I don't get what the statement was. Because here's the thing, that would be like me getting hard on for my iPhone. It's not normal.
I want to fuck a Roomba.
It would have made
I'm
more
so woke
sense
and
if
fuck a
maybe
Roomba.
like there was an alien girl or something, like even kind of an ugly alien girl or something.
Yeah.
Not like one of those hot ones that you might jack off to the hentai porn for. That you might jack off to the hentai porn for.
But it was a
But one of
feminist
the
robot
ugly
named
ones.
after a 2003 meme.
But the robot was really annoying. I really hated her. I thought K2SO was pretty much the surrogate Jar Jar Binks for the Disney Star Wars movies, but I think we have our
Oh man, it really makes you
maybe
appreciate
more
K2.
annoying than Jar Jar.
Yep.
Just because she's like my feminist agenda tron. You know, it's like why? And then, like I said too, I think one of my biggest complaints with the acting was actually Donald Glover's.
It was really bad.
He's like, I'm a woke Lando man. I'm gonna walk in this place. I'm gonna smoke weed. I'm gonna fuck my feminist robot.
I'm so woke
yo.
that I fuck robots, bro.
I'm so woke. I fuck robots. And half the time he tries to do the Lando, half the time he's just Donald Glover. Where he'll be sitting there and he'll be like, yo, I'm super woke about it. And then Han Solo will be like, I need a ship. You think you can supply me with one? And he's like, well, yes I can, because I'm hella woke. And it's like, okay, like, just, are you doing the Billy D. Williams, or are you just going to do the Donald Glover? Because, just pick, because at this point, like,
At least he was
Alan Aldrich or whatever, at least he just kind of, like, was like, look.
I can't do Han Solo, so I'm just gonna do.
Well, he's like, I'm not gonna exactly. For whatever reason, they let him just not really even try to mimic Han Solo that much. And it's like I almost preferred that. I guess I would have kind of. Because it showed.
If Han Solo wasn't gonna try, then they might as well not had Donald Glover try. You know?
Well, Donald Glover didn't. Donald Glover couldn't
He
decide if
alternated
he
between
wanted to
trying
copy.
and not
You know what I'm
trying.
saying, though?
I know exactly what you're saying.
Because there were scenes where he was like verbatim trying to copy Billy D. Williams and was doing a really bad job at it, really bombing. And there were other scenes that he wasn't. So I'm almost wondering if the ones
Some
where
sort of
he was
shit.
reshoot shenanigans would be my guess.
At least he was
Because
only
I'm guessing he was trying to do the Lando voice or something in the original, and then they're like, look,
just cut
with
that.
the Ron
Just
Howard
be
thing.
woke.
Yeah.
At least Donald Glover was only the second worst actor in the movie because Han Solo's girlfriend was insufferable.
I don't think I would really kind of disagree. I think first off, I find it funny that the girlfriend looks like Rey. Again, like Kathleen the woke Kennedy can only decide another brunette
white girl with dark hair.
5'6", 105-pound white girl that looks exactly the same as Rey. And I find that interesting. That's kind of like their repeated go-to.
It's almost like Kathleen Kennedy's a white woman with dark hair.
No, so there was that. I don't know. The movie was pretty boring. I've only gotten like 3 hours of sleep, but my internal watching a boring fucking movie that feels way longer than it is clock kept waking me up at the important plot beats. So I would wake up, it'd be like, now we gotta do the Castle Run in 12 parsecs. The Castle Run would happen, then I would sleep for a few fucking minutes. And then I'd wake up and repeat the cycle. So I probably slept through more than you'd expect. I didn't see the R2-C3PO cameo, which apparently was a thing.
Yeah, I didn't see that either.
But yeah, I think the Darth Maul shit was bullshit. But overall, you know, still better than Rogue One and The Last Jedi. So Hayden, what did you think of this movie?
Pretty much the most boring, lazy piece of shit I've ever seen. Like, it wasn't as truly awful as Rogue One or The Last Jedi were, where it was like difficult to watch, but it was pretty much just like boring and embarrassing. Like every second of the movie was just like, hey, remember that thing? Remember when they mentioned how Chewbacca ripped someone's arm off? Here's him ripping someone's arm off. Remember that time Han Solo got a cut on his pinky? This is how he got that cut. Remember that time Carrie Fisher snorted coke? This is the scene where she grows her coke nail out. Like, every fucking second was just like a reference to one-off lines. Han shoots first. Dude, we see him shoot first. It's just a movie full of references. It's nothing but...
Yeah, when he kills Woody Harrelson, he shoots first.
We see the origin of literally every aspect of Han Solo. It ruins all the mystery of Han Solo.
Not even just the mystery, because it doesn't even add anything.
No, it doesn't. Like,
it doesn't show.
He says the Kessel Run thing, and you think in your mind, he did something that people would think is impressive, and then they show it to you, and he sucks a giant hentai monster into a black hole, and that's what he does. Like,
the thing too is, I don't think the time skip. I mean, I'm sorry to cut you off, but you think the time skips, like with the prequels, Ewan McGregor and Alec Guinness, two different takes on Obi-Wan, but it's like a 20-year time when he was living in the desert as a hermit. Han Solo just does his thing for like 5 years, all of a sudden looks completely different, acts completely different, has a different speech pattern, talks different, walks different, but every important event of his life happened about 5 years earlier in a 2-week span.
2 weeks is like 30 minutes span.
30
Jesus
minutes
Christ.
span, 12 parsecs, 13 parsecs.
But like, holy shit, they're like, every single thing that was ever mentioned is just turned into a scene. All these things that Han has ever talked about in the movies all happened at once, and they all have to have screen time here. If there's a thing, then it's if there's a line from the original trilogy said by Han Solo, then you learn the origin of that line here. You see the origin of Chewbacca playing chess. Like, literally everything is just a reference. And the movie itself, you strip back all the references, and what you have is pretty boring. The train scene where they rob the train is kind of okay, because it's got like the train's like tipping sideways and stuff, and it's cool. It's okay. It's decent. It's better than anything that's in Rogue One. So that's a compliment. The rest of the movie,
Rogue One is really garbage.
The second act where they go to Kessel and there's like the lesbian, the feminist robot that is named after a meme from 2002 starts a slave rebellion where the robots rise up, is really drawn out and really boring. And then the Kessel Run, despite being the main focus of the movie, is really boring. And then after the Kessel Run, the movie goes on for 30 more minutes with people pretty much just standing around talking in the desert. The Darth Maul scene is really embarrassing fan service because it literally doesn't make sense.
I think that shit must have been added in later.
It had to have been, because it doesn't make
sense. It definitely didn't exist until the Howard cut.
At what point did Darth Maul have time to establish literally one of the largest criminal organizations in the entire galaxy?
Especially after just getting brutalized by Darth Sidious, and pretty much Rebels picks up where that story left off.
Yeah, so
where
it's
he's like crazy, because he's a crazy fucking man at the start of episode 4, or at the start of Rebels. So it's like, so basically like in a couple year span, he starts a gangster empire.
Couple years,
like,
if that.
He's like, damn, my brother died. I'm gonna start the big, huge mafia because I'm a Sith Lord. And then he goes crazy, and all the rebel shit happens.
And what the
like,
fuck?
Now Darth Maul's story makes no sense.
What does Darth Maul even want with this hyperfuel? What's he doing with it? We don't know. He's just
hawking it off, making money. For what exactly? I don't know, because his whole life is about getting revenge on the Sith at this point. For fucking him over so hard. But he's not like making this empire to get like a militia.
The rebel people like implied that Darth Maul was selling it to the Empire, but Darth Maul would know full well that the Sith were part of the Empire, so he's like, I'm just gonna sell it to the people I hate the most in the entire galaxy.
Yeah, I don't know. Upsell
for some reason.
Upsell him.
He's like, I'm gonna overcharge these motherfuckers.
He scalped it, basically. He's like, I'm just gonna scalp They're like, damn, we need some hyper fuel or whatever, hyper super shit.
Also, it's kind of weird, like
fucking 125.
Han's character arc in the original movies was that he was like a selfish asshole, and then he stopped being a selfish asshole. But this entire movie is about how he's not a selfish asshole because he just like gives up all the money he could have made to help the rebellion. So he was basically a rebel the whole time.
I like how at the end the rebels are like, we could get a good couple people like you. And he like winks at him.
Maybe
he's
later.
like, maybe one day. You know, not right now. I still got adventures to do. And then it's like, you know, we're never gonna see another adventure till he goes in. And presumably, it seems like in A New Hope, it might just be my opinion. Seems like he never participated in rebellion or ever did anything good for anything.
No, he kind of seemed like a fucking asshole.
But
He didn't even do good for his employer. He ditched the cargo, and that's why Jabba wanted to fucking kill him.
here's my canon
He wasn't
level for
like
Star Wars. I'm just gonna mention this now. The original 3, then the prequels are on the second level of canon. The reason I say that is because George Lucas made them, but they all just completely contradict the actual movie. And then the third level is, I guess, the Disney Star Wars movies, because
The numbered ones.
I
would put Han Solo below the numbered ones, because this shit... I'd put this below Rogue One, because Rogue One didn't make a lot of sense. But as far as sticking to the canon, this movie just blatantly is like, meh.
It even says fuck the canon.
It says fuck the cartoon that we made. It doesn't make fucking sense. Is Darth Maul a gangster? Is he a fucking crazy person? Is he still a Sith? What the fuck is Darth Maul? But yeah, it's really... This movie feels about like 7 times its length, where everything that happens just drags on and on. Every scene is just piles of references that are made to... People are like, oh, I recognize that thing from a good movie, so this is a good movie. It's what Disney was aiming for, I think, because this movie's pretty bad. Better than The Last Jedi and Rogue One, which is not much of a compliment.
God fucking damn it.
God,
It's not a track meet leg.
you need to kick bro. But anyway. I mean, come on. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely better than Rogue One and The Last Jedi, but that's not high praise, because it's still, you know, there's elements of this movie that I would call okay, and there's a lot of it that I would call bad, but there's nothing that really sinks to the Last Jedi or Rogue One levels, so.
The thing about The Last Jedi and Rogue One is they are unbelievably fucking stupid. I would say it doesn't even get nearly as bad as The Last Jedi. Part of it might have been that I expected it. You know, I knew what was going to happen. I actually expected the references to be as bad as they were. I got exactly what I thought. They didn't do worse. I kind of thought they would do less references than I expected. So I put my expectations really high for how many references I'd get. So, you know, I would be like, okay, they explained like 5 or 6 things that never needed to be explained. Doesn't really bother me. That was the hope. And then they explained like every single thing I never needed explained that I expected them to explain.
Honestly,
And it's like, I can't even be that disappointed. I knew what I was getting. I knew what I was doing when I bought the ticket.
This movie...
I knew I was going to buy the ticket and not enjoy the movie. This is one of those things where I knew I was going to go and not enjoy the movie because I have no interest in watching this movie.
This movie...
There's no interest I have in this movie. It's a stupid idea.
There's like a shit spectrum, and there's like boring shit and funny shit, and like The Last Jedi and Rogue One fall on boring shit. And even though this movie's kind of boring, it also made me laugh quite a bit, like, because it's kind of ridiculous. Like, the amount of references they pile on, like, of shit that nobody ever wanted to know, made me laugh a lot, and the Darth Maul scene made me burst out laughing.
Yeah, the Darth Maul scene.
There's a lot of shit in this movie that's just, like, ridiculous.
I would call the Darth Maul scene, I would go as far as to say the Darth Maul scene is immensely cringe.
It's horrible, it's really bad. But, like, the scene where...
And he only whips out his lightsaber because they're like, shit, we need a lightsaber.
We need a lightsaber.
That's probably why they
We can't sell the toy without a lightsaber.
They're like, who should this crime boss be? Should we just make it like some so horrendous person that it's like a surprise when people see him? Should we make it somebody we already knew? And Kathleen Kennedy's like, I've been watching this movie, and I can't remember anything from the last 30 minutes. I don't have that good of a memory, but I believe there were no lightsaber. My memory can remember big glow stick. And they're like, we just, you know, we didn't find it necessary to add a lightsaber. She's like, oh no, Han Solo needs lightsaber. It's like, no, Han Solo doesn't believe in the Force. Han Solo have most mini-chlorians. It's like, okay. Kathleen Kennedy honestly might be a mouth-drooling retard.
There was 2 scenes that made me laugh really hard besides the Darth Maul one. And it was the one where Chewbacca rips the guy's arms off. Because I knew that it was supposed to be like that scene where he's like, I've seen him rip a man's arm off before. And that made me laugh really hard because it was so ridiculous. But also, the first like 15 minutes of this movie, they keep doing close-ups of those stupid golden dice from episode 8 that are only in episode 8.
No, I think they were
like,
7 too, weren't they?
No. They just appear in episode 8
Fuck.
so that Luke can give them to Leia. But like every second of the movie, in the first 15 minutes, it'll be like a close-up of him grabbing the dice, a close-up of him putting them in his ass, close-up of him wrapping it around her nipples,
there's a close-up. There's actually
sucking on the nipples.
This is a real thing.
With the
This
dice.
is a real thing. There's a close-up. Han Solo puts his legs behind his head while he's got orange hands, spreads his ass cheeks, and inserts each piece of the dice, like his anal beads, into his asshole. And I'm like, this scene is ingenious, because what it does is it sets up the dice.
Yeah.
It sets up the dice. Now I understand what the dice.
Oh, and the scene where he goes to talk to his boss in the first scene, and the boss comes out of the water, and she's like the human centipede, and all her minions are like walking foreskin.
Oh, and he throws the fucking...
and he throws the rock at the window, and for some reason
there's a window that...
These monsters die in light, but they have like glass windows, and he shatters them. And it's so ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's nowhere near as funny as the prequels.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong,
but it is kind of like funny.
I did fall asleep about 5 or 6 times for about, you know, I have a few...
You missed some stuff.
I mean, I watched easily an hour and a half of the 2 hours overall.
Yeah.
But I'd fall asleep for 5 minutes at a time and then wake back up. My question is, the one thing I was surprised that I thought they would establish, I don't believe they did. I don't believe they established why Han Solo and Greedo are enemies. Honest to God believe there would be a 30-minute side story about how much Han Solo hates Greedo.
No, I figured it'd be like a 5-second thing where like Han and Chewie would be walking through a bar or something, and he'd look over and he'd be like, he'd lean to Chewie and he's like, I hate that guy.
No, that was actually too good. You actually had more of a Harrison Ford impression. He'd be like, Chewie, I hate that. You know? It's almost like I feel like he was doing it closer to a Luke Skywalker
It kind of is. But on the shit spectrum, this is The Last Jedi, and it's no fun. This is the prequels, and they're very fun. Solo's kind of like here, like just above the middle, where there's some hilarious
Han Solo
scenes.
is a bad movie.
The hentai monster.
Han Solo is a bad movie, but it does fall into bad a lot closer to prequels. Funny, so bad it's funny.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, it was like,
it was
good.
Too.
It was kind of like good filmmaking, but like Disney, the corporation, was like, you gotta actually make this bad. Like, here's what you gotta do. You have to add all these things. Ron Howard's like, I really think we have a script here, and I think I can really clean up the original vision to be really good. And they're like, you can clean up the original vision, Ron Howard? That's great.
Just
But we do need you to add this list. And he's like, this is like 80 things. And they're like, we made a list of everything that Han Solo's ever done.
I actually
we want you to set up everything.
I have one compliment.
And Ron Howard's like, why does it say in the middle of the list, Han Solo inserts 2 fluffy dice as anal beads into his asshole?
There's one compliment I do have to
Darth
give.
Maul? What does Darth Maul have to do with Han Solo?
For some reason, the rebels wore like weird tribal armor, and they had like African music that played with them. But I thought the music in this movie was actually pretty decent, especially that track.
Especially, this is the first one where
The Force Awakens and the last
thing from John Williams.
The Force Awakens. Oh no, they played the original song when Han and Chewie first got in the.
No, I know,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I mean, like, the
But yeah.
actual main scores and shit. Like, I don't think there's any...
Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rogue One had absolutely zero new memorable music, and Han Solo's soundtrack was actually pretty decent.
I would agree.
And I hate seeing Game of Thrones actors, and I really wish that they had cast
Here's what I will say.
else. I fucking do not like Daenerys. I do not like Game of Thrones.
I don't
not
really
like seeing her
have
ugly
anything
face.
against Game of Thrones. She's not ugly. She's hot. If we did compare the three...
Yeah, okay.
Compare the three brunette women that have been in every Star Wars movie recently. Which would you smash out of the three?
The one from Rogue One.
Rogue One? You mean fucking rat eyes? You mean methamphetamine? Heroin, I mean heroin.
She didn't look like
She looked like she shot
methamphetamine
heroin.
at all.
She looked like she was
Plus
just a couple scabs away from having meth scabs, dude.
Plus, even if you don't want to call her Game of Thrones girl, the second best compliment you can give her for her acting career is Terminator Genesis girl.
Yeah, Terminator Genesis is a very bad movie. I'm not saying her acting's good. I'm saying she's definitely the hottest of the three.
No.
Yeah, by far.
No.
By far.
No, the girl from Rogue One is way
By
hotter.
far.
Just
I
'cause
would
they-
rather fuck Daisy Ridley over Ratface over there.
She doesn't look like a rat at all. If anything,
She looks like a Mickey
goddamn
Mouse,
rabbit.
dude. They probably picked her because she looks like goddamn Mickey.
She doesn't look like a mouse at all. She
She's
looks
like,
more
oh,
like a rabbit.
Mickey Mouse! Yeah, she does. She looks like a rabbit. She's got big old buck teeth. Looks like a gopher. Looks like she's about to
She's
saw
not a
through
buck
some
teeth.
wood.
Do you even remember what she looked like? She also played.
She looked like Sandy Cheeks.
She was in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 for like
Yes,
4
she
seconds.
was.
She was supposed to play the Black Cat.
Yeah, but that
That's
didn't pan
funny.
out.
That's
She looks
funny.
like Sandy Cheeks from SpongeBob.
Oh.
And I'm not wrong. I could make that edit where I put her face brown, and then
I mean, I'd
I
like
put
to
the
see it,
dome
but I
around
think
her
you're
head. She would look just like Sandy Cheeks. Can't you see it a
I'd
little
pick
bit with
her
her
over.
big old...
I'd pick
buck
her
teeth.
over Terminator Genesis.
Honestly, I could land a jumbo jet on her teeth. I'm like, oh my gosh, the whole tarmac's on fire right now. What are they gonna do? And they're like, we got
I read
Felicia
that.
Hardy, and she's holding her teeth out, and it's like, am I gonna be able to land this 150-pound passenger jumbo jet right on her teeth?
Anyway.
And she's like, she can take the heat, and I just land it right on her teeth, you know,
Anyway.
because they're so big. I don't know if her teeth are that
Would
big.
you recommend Solo?
Would I recommend Solo? I don't know. Maybe. Not wholeheartedly. No. But at the same time, it's not the worst Star Wars that's come out. It's the second best Star Wars Disney's made, and it's still really bad. Well, I wouldn't call it really bad.
I would.
The thing is, I would call it okay, but the thing that keeps it from actually achieving like good, or like the reason I would call it bad
It's
and
the
not
references.
upper okay is because first off the references, second off the reshoots I feel like are pretty obvious, because I feel like that is where I think Childish Gambino got fucked by the reshoots, because he wasn't as important until the Ron Howard cut. So I feel like originally they're like really Lando it up when you come in, and like the scenes where he's really trying to Lando it are like scenes where he's like, you can have the Falcon, or like, you can borrow the Falcon, I just want my 20%. And then like once he gets into like, I want to fuck the robot, and then they're just like, be more Donald, and it's like can we reshoot these incredibly cheap scenes? It's like, not really. You don't feel like it.
Only the wokest people fuck robots.
Bro, I'm so woke, I fuck robots. And he pulls out his vape pen, you know? He's like, I'm honestly so blazed right now, I'm in touch with the universe. Yo, you can't see the cassette out in any less than, like, I'd say 20 parsecs. And then Han Solo's like, I bet I can do it in 2. And then he goes, okay, yeah, but would I recommend the movie? I don't know, probably not. Maybe yes. If you like Rogue One or The Last Jedi for some reason, you're certainly gonna love this movie.
Yeah, because you're a brain dead drooling retard who gets horny at the sight of lightsabers, even though there's only one in this movie.
No lightsabers. I think the thing is, like, this movie could have been okay, but it's just the references just killed it for me. And the acting wasn't particularly bad, except for those couple moments with Donald Glover, but it doesn't necessarily feel like Han Solo. It's really hard to actually buy these as the original character. It's really awkward. The movie's really awkward.
Nobody is like they are.
Yes and no. Like, yes, because I guarantee you anyone watching this video is probably going to see the movie. But no, because at the same time, it's just such a pointless movie. I guess if I had to do definitive, I'd say no. I'm going to quick dance it around it. The reason I say no is because this movie has absolutely no importance. If you want to learn the stupidest reason behind the trivia of Han Solo, where you're like, I remember that throwaway line, well, you'll learn all the details. But the thing is, the movie's A, not that good, B, doesn't tell me anything I needed to know, and C, tells me a bunch of shit I already knew. So, no, don't watch this movie. Fuck this movie. Still one of the better Disney Star Wars movies.
Okay.
But no. It's also kind of closer in the prequel spectrum when it comes to funniness. Maybe it's one of... It might be the funniest. It might be the closest to straight-up comedy. I'm not saying because the jokes land.
No, none of the jokes.
I'm saying because it's like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Which made it kind of... But Aiden, do you recommend Han Solo movie?
I got a really weird condition for this one.
You're a gay ass fetishist and you want to watch Han Solo insert two fluffy
I would
guys into his
absolutely
anus?
not recommend paying for this movie, but I would recommend seeing it. Okay?
Yeah, we get what you're saying.
Because this movie is not worth money, but in the same way, like, I've had all the prequel DVDs since I was a kid. I pop in the prequel DVDs, I drink a little, and I laugh. This movie is so absurdly ridiculous. It's not badly shot. It's boring. It's definitely fucking boring. But if you were drunk watching this, and you were like someone with an IQ above 60, who's seen a Star Wars movie before, this movie is going to be hilarious to you because it's honestly embarrassing how they go out of their way to explain everything. The robot Leet the robot, based on, because Disney knows popular culture. Disney has their pulse on the popular culture of 15 years ago. The feminist robot named Leet. Like, everything in this movie, the Darth Maul scene, the hentai monster scene, everything in this movie is hilariously ridiculous, not to the same level as the prequels, but I think if I was on the couch...
Do you think Kathleen Kennedy... Here's my theory.
She probably thought that Leet was still a cool thing.
I'm not talking about Leet. I'm saying, do you think Kathleen Kennedy is a lesbian and has a thing for thin brunette girls in their mid-20s?
She's self-inserting. She's a brunette
because what
girl.
I was going to say is maybe she casting couches them. Where she just grinds up.
I think they're all self-inserts. That's why Rey is the biggest Mary Sue ever, because Kathleen Kennedy's like, put me in the script!
I'm a bad girl here.
But,
I'm a bad girl. And Han Solo's my big boyfriend.
Honestly, I would watch this movie again.
I don't know if that's true.
I will probably never see The Last Jedi again. I will definitely never see Rogue One again. I would
see them all again.
I would watch this movie again willingly and happily,
more drunk,
with a little bit of this in my hand, because
a lot of it of that.
Honestly, this movie is funny enough to be watchable, but not funny enough to.
Honestly, I don't think I laughed as hard watching at any moment during Deadpool 2 as when Darth Maul showed up.
No, the funniest part isn't Darth Maul showing up. Darth Maul talks, and then for no reason he force pulls over his lightsaber and he holds it in his hand.
He's also in the most
retarded camera like this.
He's also in the most retarded position. He's
in like the hammer time pose while he does it, and then
for no reason, hammer Adidas.
For no reason, He turns on his lightsaber
Run
and starts
DMCs.
spinning it around just because they had to have a lightsaber. This movie is like...
Bro, I think he should have been dressing a little more gangster if he was a gangster. Because he's halfway in, like, Sith clothes. I think he should have been wearing, like, gold chain, a fucking hoodie, a really nice hoodie, you know.
Supreme hoodie.
I was thinking, like, Supreme X Gucci or something, where it's, like, $2,000. He's got a blunt in his hand, he's smoking this shit, and he's like, I am faded as fuck right now. Like, you can't be fucking with me, bro. And then he snorts a bump of coke off his coat.
He's talking...
No, Carrie Fisher.
No.
He grabs Carrie Fisher.
While he's talking to Terminator Genesis, he rolls a joint, puts it in his mouth, and then he lights it with his lightsaber.
Oh, yeah. No, the bong, dude. The bong.
But yeah.
He makes his lightsaber into a bong. He's like, I'm such a stoner, I can make anything into a bong, bro. Then he presses it, and he's like, I need to lighten the marijuana with my mini-chlorians.
It's like Qui-Gon's skull. He blows the smoke into Qui-Gon's skull.
He's like, I don't know if you know this, but in my amazing life over the last 40 years, I've done a lot of things. I was a Sith Lord, then my brother died, and I was trying to kill the Sith Lords, and then I kind of took a $5 on that, became the biggest gangster in the world.
Universe. Anyway.
Anybody who hasn't seen the Clone Wars animated TV series is probably highly confused on why I'm alive, or even perhaps who I am. No explanation.
But yeah, I would give it 2 weeks.
God damn it. What were they thinking with Darth Maul? What were they thinking?
They knew people would write clickbait about this surprise cameo in Solo.
Darth Maul should have stayed dead in the first place. But the fact that they brought back Darth Maul in Clone Wars, it's forgivable. It's the cartoon.
It's a cartoon.
The cartoon, they say it's canon. They say the cartoon is canon.
And now it's canon.
It's canon for the Star Wars super fans,
and now it's canon.
But honestly, the only canon that actually matters is the shit that happens in the fucking movies.
90% of people would have continued with their lives figuring Darth Maul was dead, and now they have to confront the fact that he is not dead.
He's not dead. And to the people who might...
Anyone who didn't see the cartoon is going to be like, why the fuck was this guy, not cut in half,
It doesn't make much sense. And the thing is, like, look at this from a movie perspective. You're a casual fan. You're a grown-ass man, so you don't watch the cartoons. You're not the guy that has 15 different Star Wars t-shirts and switches them out every day to wear a different one. You're the type of guy that says, I kind of like enjoying these movies. Just casually fan of Star Wars. You don't have anything against any of the Star Wars, You go into the theater and you're like, you're figuring, I remember the part where Darth Maul died. And then all of a sudden Darth Maul comes on and your brain tries to comprehend why this character who has absolutely nothing to do with Han Solo is now integral to the story of Han Solo, A. B, he's not dead. C, why he's unimportant. D, why he's in the movie.
Why he has robot legs.
Why he's got robot legs. F, if he's even Darth Maul, because they don't even blatantly say it. G, the fact that he's got the double-sided lightsaber, so he's probably Darth Maul. And it's like, they just... I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know what they were thinking.
But anyway.
Because you can't use him as a villain in the next Han Solo movie, because Obi-Wan kills him in Rebels, so you wasted that. Because if you now kill him in the next one,
Rebels.
That's what you gotta do. I mean, they should decanonize Rebels, because even though Rebels had, like, one good season, the problem with Rebels is they added things to Star Wars like time travel, and they added...
More Darth Maul.
More Darth Maul. Captain Rex is like, I might, because the fans demanded it, I never turned evil. And he's like, how did you get away with it? He's like, I might. I was able to get out of it because I have a good willpower. It's like...
yeah. Anyway, back to my recommendation. I recommend waiting 2 weeks and finding this movie at your local video store. And watching it drunk, not in a theater. Don't pay for it. let it die so that we don't have to see Solo 2. Oh, another scene that made me laugh really hard before we go is the scene where Han Solo gets his name when he goes up to the counter and he's like, I'm Han, and the guy's like, what's your last name? And he's like, I don't have one, I've always been alone. And the guy's like, okay, your name is Han Solo now.
Honestly, what would have made it the best Star Wars is if right when it cut to credits, instead of going like every other Star Wars you hear, and then it's like stepping in the house,
Han Solo. I'm Han Solo.
Wookiee at my side, I'm Han Solo. I'm Han Solo.
Him getting the name, I don't even know why they made Han Solo not his real name. Especially if they were just going to make it like a gag. Where the guy's like, okay, your name is Han Solo now. And then he's like, okay, that's great, cool, I guess that's my name now.
I don't think it ever occurred to me while watching this movie. I was watching a Star Wars movie that I got into the theater.
It did when Darth Maul showed up.
Oh, but it didn't occur to me at all. I was watching a Star Wars movie. Then the Lucasfilm logo started up, and I was like, I have zero hype at all to watch this Star Wars movie. In fact, this is probably the first time ever that Star Wars movies come out, and I didn't even want to watch.
The furthest movie from... This is probably the furthest Star Wars has ever got from Star Wars. There's not a single X-Wing. You see TIE fighters for like 4 seconds. There's only one stormtrooper, and he dies right away. And most of this movie is just random crap.
It's kind of cool that they did that, but in practice they still flubbed it because even though it didn't have all the Star Wars tropes that you potentially would
still
think,
was nothing but Star Wars
it was
references,
so
just really minor.
And like if
garbage.
if he meets Chewbacca and gets the Falcon, that's all we needed to see. Like you don't need to put if they put way less reference. Well, no, or maybe he's already friends with Chewbacca. You know, we don't necessarily need that set up, and we don't necessarily need the Falcon set up immediately after. Maybe he either meets Chewbacca or he gets the Millennium Falcon. If it was one or the other, totally makes sense. Do we need to see the Kessel Run? We know how that ends. He does it in 12 parsecs. Who cares?
We also know how he gets the Millennium Falcon. He wins.
I would rather see a story.
Have to see that
I'd rather
twice.
see the story of how he gets into debt with Jabba.
That would have been much more interesting.
And then what they could do is they could have made it. Well, here's the thing: they could have made a movie that directly leads into him going into the cantina. This is not what I would prefer. This is not what I prefer, but I prefer it over what we got.
I'm really surprised.
And here is my theory:
him walking into the cantina.
Because Rogue One leads directly into Princess Leia's story. So maybe we learn exactly what leads into Han Solo's story, which would be bloated over what you'd expect.
I'm sure, assuming if we live in a universe where Solo 2 and 3 come out, I'm sure the last scene of Solo 3 will be him walking into the cantina, and then it'll pan around and Luke and Obi-Wan will walk in like 4 seconds after he does.
Like, honestly, it's weird, because I haven't watched the whole Star Wars marathon since Episode 7 just came out. And I'm honestly curious how fucking weird it would be to watch the chronological Star Wars marathon.
God.
Like, think, Attack of the
Including
Clones, Solo,
You'd
Rogue
go straight
One,
from Solo to Rogue
Episode
One.
4. Like, these do not have tonal similarity.
No, Episode 1 through 3 are like goofy schlock.
This in no way feels like the same series. Like,
it doesn't even feel like the sequels.
I always laugh thinking about it. Like, imagine like Attack of the Clones and how similar Attack of the Clones. Just how Attack of the Clones is shot and how it looks and what happens
compared to this.
Compared to Episode Rogue One or Episode 8.
This movie doesn't even feel like the sequels, though. It doesn't feel like Rogue One or the sequels. It feels like just... It
does have a unique tone, sort of.
It's like a mixture between the sequels and the prequels, and nothing like the original trilogy at all.
Oh, yeah.
It's very strange.
Here's the thing. Here's one test Disney should have done when they had the test footage.
Make a good movie?
No, what I'm saying is, like, watch this movie and then immediately after, watch Episode 4. and ask yourself if you can genuinely buy that these are the same characters. Like, I genuinely cannot buy that these are the same characters.
No,
I like how we've
no.
done our recommendations. The video's been over for like a half hour.
It's just
but
hard
still,
not to keep
you know what I'm
talking
saying,
because I just
though?
keep thinking about things. Like, even Chewbacca doesn't feel like the same character.
How do you fuck that up?
Chewbacca, he literally only roars,
Well,
but in this movie,
and
he runs around
do you
just
remember
like
the
butt
part?
fucking...
Do you remember the part where Han Solo starts speaking with him?
Yes. And it's subtitled, he's like, "Rrr, rrr." Like he's never spoken Wookiee before, he's always just spoke English. But then for some reason they're like, he has to speak Wookiee so that he can befriend Chewbacca for some reason. Because Chewbacca speaks English.
Why did Han Solo take time? Like, what? Was he back in, like, space high school?
Okay,
And
here's the
he's
thing.
They're like, what elective do you want to take?
Wookiee.
They're like, here's the 500 languages you can learn. He's like, honestly, I've taken a real interest in the language of Wookiee.
Okay,
They're like, why?
Here's the
That's
thing.
what I want to see. I want to see the prequel where
Here's the
Han
thing.
Solo's, like, in high school, and he's just an asshole. And they're like, what, you want to learn? Actually, no, I know. He was never in high school. He was on the slave planet, so Han Solo's uneducated.
Here's the real thing. Chewbacca, not just in the original trilogy, it's not like he learned English. In this movie, this same movie, he knows English, but he doesn't respond to Han until Han speaks Wookiee for literally zero reason, and then he responds to English exclusively for the rest of the movie.
Yes,
Why?
Makes total sense.
Why?
Makes total sense. We'll leave it at that.
It just... I don't know, man.
Anyways.
Honestly, I might like this a little more than The Force Awakens, just because it's a meme. Force Awakens is kind of just like, you know, and this is like, it's kind of fallen into meme for me. I'm kind of liking it more the more I talk about it, even though it was like horribly boring to actually watch. Like,
I honestly thought this movie was next to like at least 2 hours 45 minutes. Because I was
It
awake
feels
for
really
like an
long.
hour 45 minutes of the 2 hour runtime, I guess. Because I was at least awake for like an hour and a half, and the movie only turned out to be like an hour and 50 minutes. And I was like, damn, they actually.
no, it's
packed
not fun to
more
watch,
plot
but it's
than
fun to
most.
talk about.
It's not fun to watch.
It's fun to talk about.
Boring.
It's really boring.
Really boring. Bye. I'm tired of talking about these movies, so bye.
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 Goodbye. Stay woke. Childish Gambino. Stay woke. Stay wokey, my boy. Young boy. Young boy. Young boy. Stay woke. Stop doing that. You're fucking autism.
Taking it off.
The problem is that you ever went out of your way to put it on.
Stay woke.